Before we start, if you enjoy weekly stock updates and real portfolio transparency, hit like, subscribe, and comment your take on the stock this week. It genuinely helps a ton. Alright, welcome back to another episode where I show you guys that I buy 10 shares of Yep. Still doing that as always, and now let's get right into the update. So this is PayPal Weekly number 6. Looks like we've already hit number 6 of these PayPal Weekly episodes, and so far I haven't gotten tired of it whatsoever. I think we should start right away with the comments that we received this week. And this time, for once, we got quite a few comments. Usually it's no comments or just very little ones. So in this case, someone commented, "You're likely going to get quite wealthy with PayPal. I've been buying monthly as well. The key with PayPal is that if you're wrong, the downside is limited, thanks to buybacks. But if you're right, the upside is massive. The risk-reward is clearly asymmetrical. On top of that, continued share buybacks will eventually exhaust sellers and force the order book to tear to the upside. With PayPal's short interest at around 5% of the float, ongoing buybacks should eventually trap the shorts." I would like to comment on this part already. I think I mostly agree. The downside is in fact limited. I think so too. Like, you can argue, as many would do, where the maximum drawdown lies. It could be that we've already seen it. It could be that it's like $55. It could be $49. It could be whatever. But it's very likely not going to be something like, I don't know, $25 or $29. That's very unlikely. And unless PayPal doesn't really earn anything anymore tomorrow, or is massively shrinking in terms of their margins or the revenue growth or whatever, it's very unlikely that we go lower, and it's even more unlikely that we go to a really low area. Like the price point we are at right now is already super low for PayPal, and for most people this might feel very crushing, but let me tell you guys, I think the worst is already been done, and it's not going to take that much longer for PayPal to rise in my mind. Sure, it could be that we're seeing another 3 months of the stock price slowly crumbling, but I'm pretty sure sooner than later we'll see the stock slowly rising up. It doesn't mean that we'll see PayPal at like $100 in 3 months or 6 months even, but it could very well be that we see PayPal in the 70s or at least high 60s very soon, which doesn't mean that PayPal is overvalued at that price point. Rather the opposite. PayPal is still very fairly valued if we see $65 or even $70. Personally, I still think they're sort of undervalued at that price point, or at least like fair valued. I see PayPal right now at a fair value at around $80 more or less. That's what I would be willing to pay for the stock in itself. So yes, someone answered commenting, "Dude, there's something we don't see. I just don't get it. It can't just be market sentiment. This stock price has to be double." And actually, I do have to disagree here. Well, I agree that the stock price could double. I don't think PayPal, with its fair value, is worth double of what it is right now. The market is quite efficient at pricing in stock price valuation, future prospects, stuff like this. And I do agree that PayPal is undervalued right now. You have to keep in mind that PayPal, or the PayPal business in itself, has been sort of a crumbling growth story. So if you look at the growth rates of like 2018 or 2020, they were massively bigger compared to nowadays, so not comparable at all. Like if you factor in inflation and the growth of the payment sector, then PayPal is not just underperforming, they're massively underperforming. And I'm not talking about stock price action, I'm talking about business actions. So in that regard, the market has been doing a pretty good job at valuing PayPal. Like it much more deserves to be at like, I don't know, $60 or $70 than it does deserve to be at like, I don't know, $300 or $350. So in this point, I do disagree. However, that doesn't mean that I see PayPal as a bad opportunity. Rather the opposite, because I see PayPal as something like the Titanic. In terms of movability, or I think that's what PayPal used to be under Dan Schulman a few years ago, and now under Alex Chris, I see PayPal more as a big sailboat. And the difference here is that the Titanic is basically hitting the iceberg and slowly going under, whereas the sailboat sees the iceberg and can maneuver around it very fast. However, I do think that it does take time to transition from a Titanic into a sailboat. This change doesn't happen overnight, and I do think that Alex Chris did underestimate the type of work it takes to do this change. Like, I think when he became captain of the ship, so to say, he did think that after one transition year they would be set and could maneuver very, very agile in this regard, but yeah, that didn't quite work out too well. However, I do have to admit that they've been gathering many great ideas: PayPal Ads, Fastlane, PayPal World, the integration of all these worldwide payments into PayPal, into the ecosystem, so to say, connecting PayPal with Venmo and Braintree, and selling a business rather than just a single product over many different areas makes so much more sense. And I think what they have been doing in terms of the business, their business strategies, they've been all very refined and very well put out. Like all of this has been fuel for the business in itself. And yeah, it takes a while to like feel the effect of what they have been doing. However, the stock market is very cautious when it comes to burned bridges, you could say. Like when you see something failing, like the Titanic, and then let's say you have this new sailboat which came out of the Titanic, and it's named Titanic 2.0, then to earn that trust back, that just takes a while. And so far, many investors haven't been giving this much trust into PayPal so far, and that's the reason why the stock hasn't been really going upwards. So I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Of course, lots of old school investors in here that burned their hands with this, slowly going outside the stock, like a washout that has been happening over the past weeks. And then last but not least, the analysts have been fueling the fire as well. So all of these factors combined is what I think has led to the PayPal stock price decline, whereas the business has been doing very well. I want to emphasize that I'm a huge PayPal bull and that the business in itself is going into the right direction, but the stock market usually is very cautious when it comes to trust. So that's the reason why PayPal hasn't been doing this well. It's not just the market sentiment. That's a factor. That's a reason, of course, but it's not the main reason. It's usually the lack of trust into a Titanic sort of ship, and of course you have to keep in mind that the payment sector in itself, stock market wise, hasn't been doing too well over recent years. Like, all these factor into this whole PayPal situation. But it's just a matter of time where things change when PayPal actually delivers on their promise. And we'll discuss this in the matter of this episode. So last answer to this, yes, it's strange, probably driven by market sentiment around PayPal and the honey case. The market can stay irrational longer than we can stay sane, but eventual math is math. Today is the last day for the honey prosecutor to amend, as PayPal won the case back in November. And once this uncertainty fades, I believe the market will finally let PayPal fly. I mean, sure, the honey case probably was part of this too, but I actually think the honey case was smaller than we thought it to be. Like, we on YouTube got like the whole honey thing, and we all saw this, but like, when you look at the average person on the street, they didn't really use honey, they've never heard of it, they don't know what's going on here, they don't connect honey to PayPal, all that sort of stuff. And I think the average investor has no clue about this entire thing that came behind this. So I think this didn't really affect PayPal stock price in a meaningful matter, but I could be wrong here. I don't quite know. So I think for the many reasons I've mentioned before, PayPal has been going under, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Next comments. Bearish comment, I have my buy-in at $37, make no mistake, it's going to get there. With an answer being that would be a PE of 6, I doubt it. Go short, you will make 40%, that would be a mistake, a big one. And yeah, I agree. I think when you make comments like this, you probably are already short, but yeah, I don't agree. It's likely that PayPal goes lower. I don't think so, but it's a possibility. But I think it's going to stay in the 50s. I don't even think we're going to see the 40s. It's possible, of course, but I just don't think so. So that's my take on this. Yeah, the PE of 6 doesn't really have to mean anything, because when something happens, the entire system behind it changes. Like right now we have this whole Venezuela thing, the Trump thing, the all these different things that could theoretically lead to small-scale wars. Is a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, but if that, like, let's just say it's a 1% possibility, if that were to happen, then all these companies would earn much less money, because all these US companies would be sanctioned. Then they would make far less money, and when they make far less money, then you don't even need a PE of 6 in order to see these valuations, because if they make that much less money, then yeah, those $37 for PayPal stock would not be low, but a reasonable price. But I think under normal circumstances, where there's no major macroeconomical factor that's affecting PayPal, I don't think we see this area. However, that doesn't mean we are not seeing it, because there's many things that we don't see that might be coming. Yeah, we'll see in the future. As I said before, I believe in the stock, so that's why I'm buying in. So, last comments. I appreciate this methodology, and very interesting. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys joining in. Highly appreciate you guys commenting as well. And now let's get into the meme of the week. I bought the turnaround dip in December. Yeah, basically PayPal going lower and lower with a guidance cut, which is probably relating to the comment from Jamie Miller. Obviously, PayPal hasn't been cutting guidance. Instead, they've been raising guidance over 2025. They've done it twice. So, considering how conservatively PayPal is giving out information about future quarters, it's very unlikely that they raise guidance twice when it's not looking good. So it does seem to look quite good, but we'll have to see, because at the end of the month we'll be much more intelligent, because then it shall be revealed how PayPal did in the last 3 months of 2025. So that's going to be very, very interesting to me, and I'm going to put my eyes all over it and research everything out of that report. So let's look at the PayPal price this episode. It's at $57.66, which is the lowest we've seen it so far in this weekly episodes. Very, very low. I think the lowest we've seen since April. So that might be hard to swallow for some people. And as you can see here, it was a very slow burn over the recent months. Very hurtful for those that are invested with call options, that are invested with any kind of leverage. And I'm pretty sure the long-term investors haven't been too happy about this either. So yeah, hoping this is the final washout before we see long-term stock price growth. So we'll see. PayPal purchases, as I said last week, I didn't get to buy this week due to personal reasons. I was lacking funds. I do hope to make up for it in the upcoming week. Ideally, I can buy more than just 10 stocks, but I can't promise that yet. So that's why I can only say stay tuned for the next week's update, because if I buy 0, 5, 10, 15 or even 20 stocks is still not decided yet. So the total invested amount of dollars so far is still $2,993. So let's get into the price action, which is yeah, as you can see, very interesting, because the current price is the lowest we've been recording so far, and the percent change since the start of this weekly episodes has been 7.42% lower than the first episode. So that's quite a lot, and I didn't think on a weekly basis we would go lower than the last time, where we already lost 3% week over week. So that's quite a bit, and even more hurtful to not being able to buy in recent days, because I think we are at a very attractive price point right now. So let's have a look into the weekly change. On a weekly basis, I lost $24 being invested into PayPal, which leaves us now with a total gain or loss, to be more precise, of $110.20, which is quite something, considering we only invested around $3,000 so far. So that's quite hefty in just a matter of a couple weeks. Didn't expect that, actually. However, on a long-term basis, assuming the price of PayPal is going up, this is actually beneficial to us, since we get to buy for much cheaper prices than we would be if the price were to go up. So that's pretty great. Let's look at the dividends and expected dividends. Obviously, nothing has changed. We haven't really gotten any new intel whether the dividends shall be increased or not. And as such, considering we have the same amount of shares as last week, nothing has changed. So expected quarterly dividend of $7, a projected yearly dividend of $28, and a projected monthly dividend of around $2.33. So that's that. Last but not least, let's get into the news. There were downgrades from small-time analysts, I would call them. Nothing too important, but I did want to cover it. Monez, Crespi, Hart, they all downgraded PayPal from a buy to neutral. You know my mind or my opinion on analysts. I think they just do what has happened in the past months or weeks. So when the stock goes up, they usually increase their price targets, and when the stock goes down, they decrease it. I was an investor of Tesla in mid 2019. Not sure if I ever mentioned that, but back then everyone, like, the stock was in a crisis situation. Every single analyst downgraded PayPal, and even Elon Musk said we're going to be insolvent in 2 weeks or something. So the stock price was disastrous. It was looking very, very bad. The sentiment was crazy bad, and yeah, it was a really tough situation, and everyone downgraded the stock. And then a couple of months later, the stock started to slowly rise up, and then this rising went faster and faster. And I think up till this point, it grew thousands of percent. And yeah, the analysts did what they always do. When it was already going up, they were increasing their price targets. So if you hold something on these guys' opinions, then you do you. But I personally, I completely ignore it. So I'm mentioning it because it's a newsworthy news, but I don't really have a huge opinion about it. Next, Copilot, meaning the checkout can be done with PayPal now. The PayPal, the Microsoft brought a PayPal-powered checkout to the Copilot AI shopping, which I think is quite meaningful. That didn't really get much coverage. But I think that's a very interesting news, adding to the already strong position of PayPal in the current market. So it's a meaningful partnership. It's not going to impact the stock price for sure, but I think in terms of the market situation, like where PayPal is being placed compared to its peers, and they're solidifying their position in that regard. So I think that's a very good thing. Not too important, but definitely a great thing to have. So then they released their PayPal transaction graph analytics program, which does read to be quite interesting. If you're interested, you can read it on the PayPal newsroom when you go to product innovation and then on PayPal ads. There they've written an article saying PayPal ads launches transaction graph insights and measurements to improve commerce advertising outcomes. Which basically means that yeah, there's a new solution that's giving brands a cross-platform view of actual purchase behavior, and not just the clicks and impressions from like one retailer. So I do think that could be very meaningful, because it's yeah, it's adding to the whole future prospect of PayPal. Because in my opinion, I'm not investing into PayPal as a payment service provider that's either branded or non-branded, but I'm investing into a future commerce platform, or like the seedling of a commerce platform. And when PayPal manages to turn into such a thing, by having all these PayPal ads, making money through that, having huge growth rates on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, then PayPal is going to turn into an entirely different company, making their money in an entirely different way. And by having all of this, it's going to shift the entire sentiment of the market, because by then PayPal is turning itself into something entirely else that can be valued on a different level as well. Because on a payment provider a type of way, PayPal is valued fairly. You could say it's being undervalued, but considering their situation, losing market share, losing transaction margins, etc., that's sort of still okay. But if they manage to increase their PayPal commerce platform story and really turn into something meaningful here, then everything changes. Everything changes because from one day to another, they are going to have growth rates that are not just mid-single digits, which is basically just the inflation. On the commerce platform, they can have growth rates that are in the hundreds of percent, or at least like 50% upwards. So that can turn into something really, really crazy, and it can be very meaningful very, very quickly. So when that happens, everything changes for the stock because it's turning into something else. So this is something you guys can read up on, because I think it's just solidifying PayPal's future in that regard. So just my 2 cents on this. Yeah. Last but not least, some new Cramer comments on the stock. And it feels like yesterday where I got to read some PayPal comments from Jim Cramer. I'll just quote what he said. I think just 3 or 4 weeks ago he said it's going lower and lower and whatever, but like now he said finally the 5th worst performer in the Nasdaq 100 was a real conundrum. PayPal. It was down more than 31% last year. PayPal's classic payment offerings have mostly become commoditized, and the company's been late to new technologies like buy now, pay later or stable coins. That said, PayPal just keeps growing and the stock's gotten very cheap. You know, this thing only sells for 10 times this year's earnings estimates. So far that hasn't mattered much to date, but maybe 2026 is the year when PayPal becomes too cheap to ignore. I am flabbergasted about how poorly the stock has acted under not just one but 2 different CEOs for multiple years now. Yeah, I had to laugh at this. It's a bit weird because like a few weeks ago I think he said it's going lower, and now he seems to have changed his mind in a way. I disagree with the part where he says PayPal has been late to new technologies like stablecoins. I think they were very, very quick to implement stablecoins. I don't even know that many other companies that even provide the stablecoins, so in that regard I just have to disagree. The buy now pay later part I do agree. Yeah, I just agree there. So yeah, if you're a fan of Cramer, then maybe this is your time to buy into PayPal. If you're a believer in the anti-Cramer thesis where everything he recommends buying goes lower, then this might be a thing to be careful of, because at least this time he made sort of a neutral comment on this. He didn't exactly say to buy PayPal, but you should be wary of this. Yeah, but I personally don't really care all that much, be it negative or positive comments from analysts or people that just have a very strong opinion, because I've read very deep into the PayPal earnings reports and all their news which is released around the stock and the company. So I'm dead set on the stock, on the weekly updates, and yeah, all this doesn't really change anything for me. Yeah, it wasn't really all that much that has happened in the past week, but that's just my 2 cents on the stock and this current outlook. I do think we have pretty much seen the low so far, and will probably soon start going upwards again. So yeah, if you want to follow this journey, then make sure to subscribe so that you're not missing any updates on my end. Of course, as always, leave your opinion in the comments, may it be bullish or bearish. I very, very much look forward to seeing your 2 cents on the stock. And now that's it for this week's episode. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.